Hey everyone, this is Brooks Kubik and John Wood, and we're here with the Dinosaur Radio Podcast. It is November 30, 2024, and John and I were just talking. Apparently, we haven't done one of these for about a year. And so we're going to try to get back in the saddle, so to speak, get back into the swing of things, do them more regularly, post them more regularly. And one of the things that we're going to do going forward is to do audio podcasts rather than video podcasts. We decided the video podcasts were boring. They were just our faces on the screen, and that got very, very old very quickly. And it's also a lot more work to edit and takes a lot more time. And so we think doing an audio podcast with a face card, as you'll see, or a screen card, as you will see on this episode, is a lot better and works a lot better. And frankly, the way I listen to podcasts is I just put them somewhere while I'm doing something, like doing the dishes or cooking or eating if I'm eating alone, or whatever. I listen to them. I don't watch them. John, are you pretty much the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most people are. If there's anything that we needed to demonstrate or show, we can make an adjustment if the time comes. But I think this is just going to be a good change for everybody. Just as you said, I think it's a good idea to get these up more regularly for our listeners and for us. I think there's a lot going on. I think people really appreciate this format, and I think it's what I've found is that it's a really good thing to have that you can just use up dead time. So you're doing the dishes or you're chopping vegetables or whatever, you just punch up a podcast and it helps it go a little quicker, and you get something to focus on, some knowledge wise. Some maybe you learn something, a new technique, or it gives you an idea that you can file away and say, hey, I'm going to try that in my next workout. So I think it's a good thing for us to be more consistent with this, and a couple changes, couple adjustments on the way, just like training. So onward and upward, as we say.
Sounds good. And having said that, for those who are not able to see us, John and I both showed up wearing gray sweatshirts without any memo about color coordination or anything like that. So gray is the order of the day. Not sure what that means, but it means something. John, what have you been up to over the past year that people may not know about?
For me, it's not real exciting. I'm not trying to impress anybody with my unique training styles. I do a handful of basic exercises and just stick with it for the most part. I think for my workouts, about 70% of them are pretty much the same from workout to workout. Doesn't really change, doesn't really need to. I adjust I might adjust the reps or the weight. Sometimes I'll do a few more sets depending on the objective of the workout, but by and large, it's just real consistent. And it's just the objective is just to get a little stronger every workout. There's really not a great secret to it other than that.
Okay. And for those listeners who may have forgotten or may not know, how old are you now?
I'm about to turn 46 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I lost track. I was thinking you was about to turn 45. So turning 46, I just turned 67. Um, so both of us have been, doing this a long time. And, it's interesting whenever we talk, we both are always focused on what we're doing now and what we can do to improve and how we can try to make things better for ourselves physically in the future.
Mhm.
And, that's something a lot of people, I get a lot of emails about this, a lot of messages from people, a lot of questions. I'm sure you do too, but a lot of people just fall into this. I'm at a certain age, whatever the age is, be it 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or whatever. It's like, and I can't gain anymore. I, I can't train anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't build muscle. I can't build strength. I can't, whatever, fill in the blank. And when you go back and forth with people about that, it's usually based on some random thing that they saw somewhere on the internet. some 20-something influencer put something out about, what it's like to train when you're 46 or when you're 66 or whatever. And they read it and they're like, oh, well, the world has come to an end for me. I can't do anything because I'm too old. And the reason is some 23-year-old on a beach in Tahiti doing, you know, Instagram stuff put out a little TikTok that said that, and they believed it. And that's just insane.
Yeah, and when you've been around anything, any world, the training world specifically, I think you start to notice patterns. And there's a lot of patterns, a lot of psychology in some of these statements. And to me, it leads to further questions. And one of the things that I always have to some in the situation like this is, okay, you're not getting results. Well, is your training situated and set up in such a way that you even know that you're not getting results or are successful? Do you have any way of measuring the progress that you're making? I mean, you're telling me you're not getting any progress, and you're probably not, but that's aside from the point here. But if you were to stumble upon a type of training that was actually working, how would you know? Unless you were had some measurement, some means of measurement in place, then there would be no way for you to know what was working and what wasn't. So you could therefore replicate what was working and go on from there.
Which goes back to all of the basics that we always talk about, beginning with a training log,
Yep.
training journal, keeping notes, progression, keeping track of your progression, and being able to look back and say, okay, today I did whatever. 2 weeks ago, I didn't do as much. A month before that, I didn't do as much. Ergo, I am getting stronger. I am making progress. I am being successful in what I'm doing. Or the converse, here's what I did today. Here's what I did 2 weeks ago. Here's what I did a month ago. Here's what I did 2 months ago. And guess what? It's the same. Or there's been a decline in the ability as measured by what you do in the actual workout. And that's something we've been harping on forever from day one. I mean, I remember you writing about this 20 years ago. Um, I've been writing about it pretty much from the beginning of my writing career. And we keep talking about it because it's such a critical thing, such an important thing.
To me,
Um,
this is
so
training. I mean, I don't understand how anybody could. I mean, I can, but to me, this is the way. This is the how it should be done. You do things a certain way, and you're consistent from workout to workout because it gives you that roadmap to know, hey, this is working. And I think what most people do is they go to the gym and they do a bunch of stuff. 3 sets of 6, 4 sets of 10, whatever. And then the next week they do 5 sets of 5, and then they do burnouts, and then they do pyramids, and then they do reverse pyramids. And they're active, they're doing things, but unless there's some kind of consistency, there's no way to compare one workout, the results of one workout to another workout. And then they're just kind of they look in the mirror and they don't, or if they do that consistently, they do it every day, of course they're going to feel lousy. They're not going to be able to lift as much weight in general, and then they're going to say, well, my training's not working, which of course it's not because they're in a state of overtraining. So you also can factor that in to what they're doing. Is that, to me, the ideal is real simple. You should be getting stronger from workout to workout, and you should have a means of knowing that you're getting stronger from workout to workout, because that'll get you excited to keep training because you know it's going to keep working. So that solves a lot of the problems that most people experience with their training. Number one being sticking with it. I mean, to me, it's real simple. If you know you're going to get results, and then getting up off the couch when you don't feel like it, it's a whole lot easier.
that's absolutely true. And it's something that people tend to forget that or overlook it. It's something that they do at one point in their lives, at one period of time. They very aggressively try to improve their performance. as measured by what they're doing in their workouts. And they get great results. And then for whatever reason, they back off of that, they lose it, and they just start going through the motions. One of the things I've been doing, from ask you to catch us up over the last year, my past year, and I'm going to circle back to my point, but I'm going to go further afield for a second. My past year has been training athletes and the student body as a whole at the local high school and the local middle school. I've been helping to run an after-school weight training program, and I've been that's open to athletes and non-athletes alike. So we have students from 6th grade on up to senior in high school training, varsity athletes to absolute beginners. And that's been a very interesting thing, a very informative thing for me. I've learned a lot by seeing what works for other people, not just what works physically, because I know that, but how to motivate them and how to get them to do the things that will give them the best results. And one of the simplest things was going to the athletic director and saying, do we have money in our budget to get some training notebooks, some simple logs where the students can record their workouts? Well, she said, yeah, I think I can get you some. And it turned out the school buys a whole lot of very small little notebooks for students. I think for students who forget to bring one to school, or they've got financial issues and they can't buy all the stuff they need for school. So the school supplies those. Well, she just gave me a box of them. And then I gave them to each student. And I literally showed them one by one, here's what we're going to do. Here's your workout. Write it down like this. It's your exercise. It's your sets, your reps, the weights you're doing. And this is what you're going to do in today's workout. And write it down. And then they come in, and in the next workout, they say, what do I do? And I say, okay, go back to the workout you just did. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to change this. We're going to move up here. We're going to stay here on this. This was hard. We'll stay there. We're going to do this. We're going to, and eventually they get to the point where they don't come over and ask me anymore. They go back and they see, what did I do the last time? Now here's what I'm going to do this time. And they're starting to take responsibility for their own training and for making their training progressive.
Mm.
And that one simple tool, that little 50-cent notebook or whatever it costs, that little notebook has just been the best thing that we've done. It's really helped a lot.
It's so simple. I've talked about it for decades now. So have you. I mean, if you talk about the psychology of successful training, ownership and responsibility are right at the top of the list, and both are tied up in this notebook. People get a sense of pride, which they should, and then they have the ability to look back and touch the pages and, hey, I remember this. I got a great PR on this day, and saying, I mean, this is all powerful stuff that propels you forward as you're training. And quite frankly, I mean, think about this. Let's say you're sick, you got a sore throat. They can go to the weight room that day, and they're not totally dependent on you. And if you're not there, they know what to do. They're becoming self-sufficient. They're becoming responsible. And this is what young people need. So that's, this is it. This is the way. This is what should be happening for everybody.
Yeah, it's a very, very empowering thing, and it carries over to all facets of life. I mean, we often talk about, the benefits of strength training beyond the strength training world. One other thing that I've been doing, again, catching up what we've been doing over the past year, I've started working as a substitute teacher, and I work at the high school and the middle school. After I'd been doing that for a couple of weeks, the school district put out a request for substitute para-educators working with students who have various learning challenges of one sort or another, sort of one-on-one in the classroom or one-on-one in the library or in study hall or whatever. And one thing that so I signed up to do that too. So I've been doing that, and for the last month or two, I've been working almost every day doing that. It's just amazing. But one thing that I've discovered is that the same principles of teaching self-reliance and responsibility that we use in our strength training and in our workouts carry over in any kind of learning, any kind of education. And you can actually teach these to people as a skill. And when you do, and when it clicks and they start to understand how to make it work at whatever level they're working at, on whatever they're working, boom, they make a big jump in their progress. It's just fascinating. And I don't know if, I don't know if other teachers, if other coaches do that kind of thing. I'm not sure why it comes naturally, but it may be from all the years of training and training in that progressive, what did I do last time? What am I going to do now to get in a position to do X, whatever X is, the goal in the future? I think that has kind of changed the way that I approach anything, and perhaps you as well.
What
Perhaps
I've
anyone
noticed,
does what we do.
what I've noticed is that good training advice is usually good life advice. You want to talk the things that we just talked about, being self-sufficient, being dedicated, sticking with it, being responsible, knowing what to do, putting the time in. And, all these things are things that you would, I'm a dad. I've got two little kids. My son is just about to turn 11. My daughter just turned 7. And so they're right at the age where they're kind of figuring out where they fit in the world. And being a dad, I think, is very similar to being a coach, and vice versa, because you as an adult, as a person that is responsible for other people, you have their best interest at heart, and you want them to do well. But the other thing to keep in mind is that you need them to eventually be able to function when you're not there, when you're not the one guiding them, you're not the one creating the infrastructure, the schedule, and that kind of thing. And, not there might mean literally or figuratively not there. There's different interpretations of that, but eventually they're going to have to dress themselves and feed themselves and exist out in the world as an individual human being. And you're looking for the same thing from an athletic standpoint, is that you want athletes to be able to take responsibility for themselves and their own actions, and not say, well, we're doing this thing because, this other guy talked me into it or whatever. No, you're the one driving the bus here, and you need to make the good decisions in the context of the world. And it all comes down to it. Like I say, good training advice is good life advice. It affects how you eat, affects your habits, your social habits. It affects the thoughts in your head. There's all kinds of things that are tied up in this thing. So, as far as I'm concerned, strength training and they've written about this for the last 150 years. It's the best thing. It's one of the best things that any person can do for themselves, and a variety of standpoints.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that also ties into another aspect of, the emails that I get from the people who say, I'm too old, I can't do this, I can't do that. When you look at what they're really talking about and focusing on, they're not particularly focusing on what I would consider strength training success. I consider strength training success to be getting more out of life, being able to do things that you were not able to do before, being able to be a better athlete if you want to be, and if you play sports, if athletics are your thing, being able to work harder, being able to work longer without tiring, being able to focus, being able to concentrate, being able to make a contribution to the world, being able to help others. being able to respond in the event of a sudden emergency. All those things are signs that your training has been successful. If you can do those things, if you have those skills, if you have those capabilities, your training is successful. It's not measured by whether you win the Mr. Olympia contest, if they still have a Mr. Olympia contest. I frankly don't know, don't care. Don't anybody put comments up about the last one if they do. I really don't care. I'd prefer not to know. Don't like modern bodybuilding. Everybody knows that. Brooks doesn't like bodybuilding. It, it's not measured really by what you can lift, by your best performance in the weight room or in the gym or in your home gym. It's measured by how your training benefits your life. And if your training is benefiting your life at any age, then it's a good thing and it is successful for you. And again, going back to the 23-year-old influencer on the beach, talking down to a 60 or 65 or 70-year-old trainee. Well, if that 60 or 65 or 70-year-old trainee is out there in the trenches 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a week, doing the work, whatever kind of work it is, any kind of resistance training, any kind of strength training, cardio training, conditioning, doesn't matter. If you're in the trenches and you're doing the work and you're doing it regularly and you're doing it progressively and you're getting benefit from it, your training is successful. Do not let anyone ever tell you otherwise.
I think this gives rise to another issue, and I've seen this and I've experienced it, is that for some reason there will be times when you happen upon a random, might be an email, it might be a forum post for those who visit forums, it might be a YouTube video. Everything's going great, and then you just run into this random bit of information and it just sends you off the rails. And it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're doing a workout that's working great for you, and somebody says, "Well, don't do that." It doesn't, everybody knows that that's not a good kind of training. And then you start to second guess yourself, and then you doubt yourself, and you change everything, and it's throwing a monkey wrench in the whole works. And for some reason, this is the nature of the internet, and you have to be aware of this, and you have to guard yourself from it. And I think it happens to a lot of people. And for some reason, I mean, don't forget the other side of things is if we're talking influencers, we're probably talking about those who are guys who are on steroids and surgery and who knows what else. So they're
Mhm.
an ideal that literally doesn't exist in reality that you're trying to put yourself up against. There's no way that you can achieve what they've achieved. There's no way that any person in a normal situation can get anywhere close to that because they are literally they're not they very well may even be AI. It's getting harder and harder to tell. So we're talking about situations that don't exist in the real world, and people are saying, "Well, I can't measure up." Well, nobody measures up. I mean, even if you look at the nature of bodybuilding magazines for the last 50 years, even if you had the cover of some newsstand magazine, it was a photo shoot where they took 1,000 pictures. They took 10 of those, which were the best ones. They probably, in the last 20 years, they probably got photoshopped on top of it. So these are ideals that just don't exist. And to try to compare yourself to that situation is just going to lead to frustration and failure. So both of ours, our approach to training, Brooks and my approach to training is very much grounded in reality. And what's reality? Well, for the average person, can you gain 15, 20 pounds of muscle, lose a couple inches of fat around your midsection, look better at the beach? Absolutely. You're not going to get the cover of Muscle and Fitness, but can you get stronger? Can you train in such a way that's meaningful to you and to people around you? Yes. Can you improve every time and feel better about yourself and walk around with all the gifts, the benefits of the neurotransmitters and the other various rewards, social and psychological, metaphysical, that come along with it. Absolutely. So to me, some people just need to take stock of the situation and also be very clear about where they're getting their information from, and there's always things out there to be very much aware of relative to the internet and the social situation.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, John, we've been going fairly long time now. Probably what we ought to do is just wrap this episode up. And there's a lot of thoughts that we can pursue from where we are in this conversation. And I know there's some other things that we specifically thought we might be talking about in some of the earlier episodes as we do our comeback journey with the podcasts. So why don't we stop here, save some more for the next one, and just sign off, and let the readers think, or no, readers, let the listeners think on what we've been sharing and talking about, and put some comments down. And we may very well pick up on some of those comments in a future episode and respond to them. How's that sound?
It sounds like a plan.
Okay. Take care, John.
All right. Thanks, Brooks.